Hello, everyone, and thanks so much for joining me for this new episode of Inspiring Our World. My name is Julie Tara, and I'm really delighted today to be with a beautiful young woman, Savannah DiMuccio, who lives in Canada. And she is one of the three children of Mike DiMuccio that many of you know of. And I've certainly known of him for 27 years. We've been like a brother and sister in this business. So Savannah, as one of three children, I also have three children. We've brought up our children with Nikken Wellness Homes. So Savannah, welcome to this podcast. And thanks so much for being here with me.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It's really, really great. And I'm so thrilled with what you're doing, and also your sister, Sophia. It's just thrilling to see the next generation pick up the baton and move forward with this unbelievable business and with these incredible technologies that the world needs so badly. Yeah. So we are going to be talking today about creativity. We're going to be talking about your social media presence and how you do that. And I want private lessons, please, on how to make Instagram reels, because I love your Instagram reels.
I've been thinking about it.
Yes, I think you should do lessons because I want to learn. I only made a few, and funnily enough, actually, I made one at Christmas time with my kids, and they were just goofing around with the Christmas tree. And I made this reel, and honestly, Savannah, I was shocked, but it had like almost 4,000 views.
There's a lot of potential with reels.
Yes, and you're so great with it. I love everyone you do. So we're going to talk a lot about that, but let's just back up a little bit and talk first of all about how was it growing up with Nikken? Because not just the products, although you had the wellness home, but tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, anytime somebody asks me that, it really comes down to like three fundamentals that stand out to me. And it's the fact that it has influenced my mindset. Like, Nikken is a business, but like Nikken gets ingrained into you in so many ways. When you are promoting wealth and practicing, or promoting wellness and practicing wellness, you know, it changes your mindset. It changes the way you view things, and that integrates in every area of your life. And so I grew up like really conscious of the food I was putting in my body. I grew up appreciating food, like valuing the nutrients that I was getting from every meal that I had. And you know, I grew up like knowing the type of water that's important. But more than that, like I grew up knowing that I could have anything that I wanted as long as I decided on it. I grew up with this mindset that teaches like the law of attraction, and I think that's something that's like ingrained in Nikken's philosophy. Like, you join Nikken as a consultant, but you truly get like a personal development out of it. And I saw how that, like, I realize now where I'm at in my life, how the education that my dad received through Nikken naturally went into, like, became ingrained into me. And so I grew up with that mindset and that this awareness, and I've noticed it, like, in comparison to people in my life who, you know, didn't really think the same way, who had a very traditional aspect of, or a traditional idea of how they were gonna grow up and live their life and get a job and this. And I really just thought about the experiences and places I wanted to see. I wasn't thinking about the job I wanted to have. I was thinking about how I wanted to feel in it. So it was really different, and I noticed that.
That is really profound what you're saying, because I noticed in something that you had sent me, you said a fabulous thing. You said, everything I do, I must ask myself the question, is this aligned with my purpose? And I was so struck by that, Savannah, because that's a very wonderful way of thinking. It's also a very mature way of thinking, and not something you would perhaps expect, you know, from somebody who's younger. And I thought, oh my gosh, because I do the same thing. Everything I do, everyone I hang out with, I'm like, is this aligned with my purpose? Does this resonate? Does it feel right? And yeah, so, and I know that, you know, you went to a Bob Proctor event and you felt a resonance, right, with the people, like, oh, these are my type of people, my tribe.
That was super transformational for me. That seminar was 4 years ago. My dad took us to it. It was funny because I remember, I think I was like maybe 18, turning 18 or just turned 18, and my dad took us to the seminar, and we usually go on vacation. So I was like, why are we going to spend 4 days in LA in a conference room? Like, I didn't want to do that. But like, my dad had this idea of how amazing it was going to be for us. And it was actually one of the most transformational experiences I've ever had, because I grew up hearing these things. Same things that Bob Proctor was saying, I've heard thousands and thousands of times by my dad. But it's just, when there's that one time that it just clicks for you, that was it for me. And I walked into that room, and the second I walked into that room was the first time I felt what it was like to be in a room of people that were just bright-minded, open-minded, and ready to like build a life for themselves. And that like-mindedness, that light energy was so strong. And I realized like I'm meant to be here. And I was so grateful. Like, I still talk about that experience. And it's always funny because I find that it's always the things that we don't want to do that is actually the things that we need the most, and that we always end up appreciating the most.
That's really, I don't have to think about that one. That's a really
it's so often for me, it happens so often where I'm like, should I do this really? And then I do it, and I'm like, thank you. I'm glad I did it.
So this was definitely a life-changing moment for you. And along with that, I'm sure that you've done Humans Be More training and made, vision boards, life cycle plans, fully with HBM, right? Have you seen, I still make vision boards. I mean, I love doing them. Do you find that when you do them, because I'm asking you because you're so creative, you're so visual, you're just, I love your creativity. I feel very connected to you in that. So have you found things have come to pass that you've put on vision boards? So
interestingly, I'm someone who gets anxious really easily because I want everything to be perfect, and that's one of my flaws. But I haven't actually, I've started so many vision boards and I haven't actually made them fully. But, and so when I say that, I've looked at that and I've been a little I need to do it. But what I realize is I actually do have a vision board. It's just not traditional. So I do this naturally. I realize this is my way of doing something. And so often we're focused on how somebody else does something. And we don't recognize when we're actually doing something that's good for us because it's not mainstream. But I actually have a vision board, and my vision board is I save things. So I like videos. I like saving things in the form of videos. I find that they really get to my emotional side of things. So even on Instagram, social media, for the longest time, I either screenshotted or put in a folder, I have a folder on my phone and it says vision board. And it literally is either screenshots or videos of things that I want to do, the feeling that it produces, that I want to experience. And I can truthfully say, in the last year, I've noticed the biggest difference with my vision board coming to life. Even right here, right now, I'm in Vancouver, and I've had experiences since being here that I was that wasn't planned, but I was wait, that was on my vision board. I wanted to have that experience, and I had that experience this year, and it's all just been happening. And I think that the thing about vision boarding is it's not the vision board, it's the feeling. So in whatever way that gets you to feel the emotion of what it's like to be experiencing this reality that you want to have, then do that. Because for me, that's how I've manifested everything that I've manifested in my life. It's through it was the feeling of it.
Fabulous. I absolutely concur. That is so true. That's the joy, and very interesting. I think that happens is that when we start really accessing the vibration, the because emotions are vibrations, the high vibrations of joy and yumminess and peacefulness or love or whatever we're looking to feel, is we could have all those images, as you do in files. And I also do that a lot with photographs, actually. And that's why I have so much fun with backdrops on Zoom. I just play around with backdrops because I find images I love and just throw them in there and go, that'll be a cool backdrop.
Yeah,
but
I do that.
Yeah, but sometimes I just have a whole bunch of images just that I cut out that are in a box somewhere, and they're in the box, and I never put them on a board. I never get to that point. And still, some of those things will happen, and I'll be like, oh, that's so serendipitous.
Taking the moment, and like sometimes it doesn't even have to be an image. Like sometimes you can just take a moment to like dream. Dreaming is the biggest thing. And I actually like when I speak about these experiences that have happened to me, like what really stood out to me, the biggest transformational time that happened was I manifested a trip to Italy. I actually won a trip to Italy, but this is how it happened. I got an email, and so it was a hotel that I stayed at a few years ago, and I saw that they were doing a contest. And I think there's a mix between things. Number one, I think that everybody has a dream. And I think that when you dream something, when something feels so right for you, it's not a coincidence. There's always something there. So I think that it's a mix between something being meant for you and you being ready and attracting it. And what I mean by that is when I saw that this contest was in my email box, I knew I had to apply to it. It wasn't something that I was just like, oh yeah, I could just like maybe not. Like it's like I felt like it was for me. And then I applied to it. And when I applied to it, I started like naturally, I just wanted something. And because I wanted it, I just started to like envision myself. Like I didn't envision myself winning. I envisioned myself sitting at this terrace, drinking a glass of wine at the hotel in Italy. I envisioned the experiences I'd have there, not me winning it. I'd envision the aftermath, how I would feel, what I'd be doing. And it was that I truly believe showed me what it was like to actually manifest something and what the feeling that you need to produce. It's about dreaming. And I think it was also meant for me. There was part of it that was meant for me. So it's a matter of like listening to your intuition and listening to your calling. And, you know, one of the things that Bob Proctor says that I just recently got refreshed on was when he tells somebody to dream about the reality that they want, he tells them, do not dream as if from your current reality, because you will be limiting yourself. Allow yourself to just dream as big and bright as you can. It can be the most extravagant thing. It can be the most luxurious, most out of this world type of thing. If that's what you desire, then claim it. Because if you don't claim it, you're never going to get there. You're only going to be manifesting from your current reality, and that limits you. And that really stood out to me when I dream. So I don't stop myself from dreaming. I let myself dream the biggest things, and it naturally comes into play. And I've noticed that really works.
I love what you're saying here. Love it. And I think it's so true. And going in the dream beyond the winning of something, like a level or a rank or something, is the feeling and the experiences you're going to be having at that place. And I have so many thoughts about that, actually. But one of the key things that I think you said was the calling. And I absolutely believe that the universe is giving you your dream as much as you want it. It's wanting you. The dream wants you.
Yeah.
And everyone has their own calling. Everyone has a destiny. Everyone has a mission that they came to accomplish, right? And it's just the fun of discovering, you know, what is that mission? What does it look like? And feeling that connection when you recognize, like you did with the contest, like, I don't know why, but this is for me. This is for me. It's like a kind of click. Yeah. A meeting comes together. I've had this a few times. I know when I, you know, wanted to go to the Royal Ballet School, I remember the first time I saw the school and I was like, that's my school. I didn't know really what went down at the Royal Ballet School. I didn't know what I had to do to get in there. I didn't even care any of that. I was just like, boom, that's my school. Yeah. And I was only 10. And suddenly I was there. I was at the school for, you know, the next 5 years in boarding school. So I know exactly when that happens. And now it doesn't happen every day. It doesn't happen all the time. But when it happens, I think it's super important that we listen to it and that we move into agreement with it immediately. We don't fight it. We just go, I don't know why, but this is the guy, or this is the place I'm supposed to live, or this is the company I'm supposed to work with.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how I felt about Nikken, to be honest. Like, I said my entire life I wasn't gonna be a Nikken.
Yeah.
Like I was like, and I think me and my sister were both very like on the same page about that. We're like, this is my dad's thing, it's not my thing.
Right.
But there's an energy with Nikken that when I was thinking about what I wanted with my life, it just felt so right. And I'm at a point where I'm building my business, and what keeps me going is truthfully just, I don't know what it is. Like, that's the thing. Sometimes you don't know what it is. You don't know why you're here. And you don't need to exactly know why you're here, but follow that feeling. And I do know that there is something with Nikken that is very strongly resonating with me, and that I need to be here. I know that I need to be here. I don't know why. I don't know what exactly it is, but I know that I need to be here. And so I'm just doing step by step and just going in the moment of where I'm at right now, following that calling that I feel.
You know, in the Awaken 5 Pillars seminar that we did, you know, you and I ended up in that visionary group, and it was so right. I was like, that's why I always resonate with her so much, because she's kind of operating on that same way of living life, and it's kind of following the yellow brick road, if you like. It's the dreaming, it's that feeling of syncing up. And of course I feel the same way about Nikken. It's like for some reason this is part of my destiny, and I know it, and I'm joyful when I'm doing what I'm here to do on the planet. You know, it just makes me happy to do that and not feel like I'm off course somewhere kind of wandering around in the wilderness. Not that we never do that, because we do go through periods of that. Everybody does, I think. And of course all the myths and stories tell that, but the hero's journey it's always about the calling, and then whether we refuse the call or accept the call. And then what happens. And accepting the call doesn't mean it's all going to be easy and flowery and pretty all the time, because it means there's going to be struggle and hardships, because that's how we grow as well, through our struggles and suffering. And yet the call is the call, and you just know, you just feel it in your heart, right? In your heart, you go, I don't know, but this is kind of my soul destiny, or part of it. And Nikken is very much like that, you know, for people that are really passionate about it, as you are and as I am. It's just that, you know, it's part of their soul's work in this life, and you take that seriously, because the life is a beautiful, wonderful gift, and we don't want to go awry with our life path. We want to be on our life path. And I feel like you're demonstrating that so beautifully with how you're doing this. It's so touching to me. I want you to know, it really does touch me deeply when I see you winning these awards. And I mean, you just went silver not long ago, and then you did Club Ki, which was so exciting, and you're one of the top performers. And it's like, I'm just like, my heart just truly explodes and goes, oh my gosh, look at her go. She's so cool. She's so magical. And you really
Thank
are.
you.
Yeah. And also that you call your team the sovereign team. You know, that's a word that I've used since I started in Nikken. I kept finding myself, when I was talking, talk about the word sovereign, you know, as a woman being sovereign onto your own, you know, living your sovereign life. And so when you pick that word to use as your team word, I was like, whoa, I love it. You go, you guys, it's you girls. It's so
when we were thinking about like what really makes our, like, how can we represent what we're doing here? And I think to us, like, what does sovereign mean? Like, it truly means that you're living a life for yourself. Like, you're living a life for your own. The reason, like, it goes hand in hand with why I'm even doing this in the first place. Like, the reason I'm doing this business, the reason that I'm building a team, the reason that we're gathering people is because, as we were talking about, everybody has a purpose. Everybody has a calling. And I think that the way society has been built stems you away from that calling. Or at least doesn't nurture you into allowing yourself to fully express every way that you can be, every part of you. Like, when we're so limited by our resources, by our time, by where we can be, we're not actually able to listen to that intuitive calling. Like, the fact that I'm in BC right now, I felt intuitively called to be here. And this is everything that I need right now. But if I had typical job that, you know, the way like society has built it, I wouldn't have been able to follow that calling. I would have had to ask somebody for time off. I would have had to have a limited amount of time. It stops me from being me. It stops me from following those dreams. And I don't think anybody is meant to not pursue their dreams. I think that is exactly what we're saying. When you feel something, you feel it for a reason. And when we really get into like, who am I? Why am I here? Like, what is the purpose of me being here? I don't think the purpose of you being here is to be limited in anything that you do. And that has always been very clear to me. And, you know, Nikken is there's a lot of businesses that provide you this type of model, this business model, but there's not many businesses that are so driven by purpose. And that is what I really value about Nikken, is that it's truly driven by purpose, and that is noticed and seen by the people who you know, join the community, and that's what they recognize. They recognize the community in it.
Absolutely. A community of like-minded, like-hearted people that really are a tribe, that are about living their fullest expression of life.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is
fullest expression. That's the word.
It's beautiful, isn't it? It's just we would want that for everyone. I would want that for every child, every woman, every man, you know, in our world. And we're moving in that direction. I feel like we're moving in a really powerful direction in the world, with tremendous shifts of values, and that really feel great and harmonious. Of course, there are always oppositional values going on at any given moment, but in fact, there's something I'd love to bring up. It's something I was reading yesterday from Global Wellness Trends. There's an online magazine that you can, you know, find out just what different trends are going on. I was very pleased with pretty much everything that I was reading, but this little piece I pulled out about your generation, the next generation, was called Next Gen Naturalism, the Return of Self-Reliance, which is a lot what you're talking about. For decades, the concept of progress has been about requiring humans to do as little as possible. We praise automation, reward businesses who deliver convenience on demand, and admire nature from a safe distance, glorifying it without respecting it. But the looming threat of global upheaval is forcing us to change our ways. As we collectively reckon with the fragility of our planet and the instability of our supply chains, we'll see a long overdue return to self-reliance. This trend details how the self-sufficiency boom is playing out in diverse ways, from the global growth of outdoor survival schools to the boom in foraging and homegrown produce. Next-gen naturalism is a back-to-basics wellness that refocuses on the natural world and ancient practices to prepare for a shaky future. How does that land with you when you hear that?
I think it sounds really accurate with like the at least like the people that I've spoken to. You know, a lot of the time people ask me like, well, your generation, they don't really value like wellness, do they? And I was like, well, actually they do. Like, at least the people that I'm speaking to, like I think it always comes down to when you're clear on what you believe and your values, you attract those people. And so in my community, in my realm, like there's so many people that are into wellness. And, you know, especially in the last 2 years, like there's been a lot of people doing their own research on like wellness, and especially water, right? Water is such a big topic for me with my audience and the people that I speak to. And what's interesting is like, people don't have the information that they need. Like somebody who actually just joined my team, like, you know, she was telling me, she got really hooked on what I was saying about water, because like she got a Brita thinking that she was like drinking the best water that she could. But then like we went into, you know, what qualities you actually need in water, and you need minerals in water. You need, you know, that doesn't exist in a Brita filter because it filters everything out. Or, you know, how structured water makes such a difference, that's how it is naturally in nature. And we were talking about that stuff, and she like had no idea. And so it's people are interested in it, they just don't know what's out there. And that's what is our job to do. That's what we're doing here. We're letting people know what exists, and we're bringing people back to nature.
So beautiful, isn't it? You know, harmony with nature is one of our standing principles, and I just, we have to get back connected, and all our technologies, you know, talk about that and are that, and, you know, the earth, the air, the water, the fire, the sun. It's so tremendously beautiful that we're bringing people back into that connection. So, you know, you mentioned there about, you know, you have a new member that's just joined your team. And so let's talk about that and how you're working with social media, since that's such a brilliant place for you to bring your artistry, especially with Instagram. How does that happen? How do you do it?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a broad question.
I know. I'm sorry.
There's like so many, like, it's not that easy. like I think that's one thing, is people think that it's really easy to do, and it's not, because, you know, people think because I'm so successful in it, like, I don't face rejection. I face a lot of rejection. But interestingly, what I've learned this last month is it's not necessarily about the rejection, it's about your energy towards it. And I can get into that a little bit in regards to, you know, achieving Club PI. I basically was on route to achieving Club PI. I had 4,000 points that I needed in the last month, and it was the last day, and I had 2,000 points left. And instead of giving up, I was like, nope, I have no other choice. I'm reaching Club PI. It's happening. If it's not you, it's going to be somebody else that's going to help me get there. And that was just the mindset that I had. And I reached out to a lot of people. And let me tell you, every person that I reached out to, I think maybe one of them bought something. No one that I reached out to actually got something from me that day. However, what I learned is that I ended up achieving it. And what happened was, in the last few hours, I just had people messaging me, asking me, like, I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to tell them about the product. They literally messaged me saying, hey, can I buy a waterfall? Hey, can I buy this? Like, people were asking me to just buy it and just send them the link on something. And I was like, sure. And it was interesting to me because none of the people that actually contributed to that 2,000 points were people that I reached out to. It was people that reached out to me. And what that showed me is that it's okay if it's not the person that you're reaching out to. The point was that my energy was there. My energy of achieving that goal, my energy of helping people experience, you know, this new product of bringing wellness into their life through water. One of like our fundamental ways of life, right? My energy was there for that, and it happened. It literally just naturally happened in any way. And I ended up achieving it like early. It wasn't stressing about it or anything. It worked itself out. And then, yeah, so that was a big thing for me in showing me like what is possible in terms of manifestation, and also how it's really about your energy. But, you know, rejection happens, and not everybody, and I think a big part of the business that I've started to learn myself is you have to meet people where they're at. And a lot of the times, you know, we can get caught up, especially as we're in sales. Like, if you are focusing on products, you can get caught up in sales, and that's like not something shameful to say. It's something that like you learn through, especially first getting into something. Like you have to learn the best route of doing something. But it's also really about respecting where people are at, and not everybody is ready to make big differences in their lifestyle choices or in their wellness. And you need to acknowledge that and accept that. All you can do is inform them of what they don't have, the information that they don't have. And that's something that I've really learned and struggled with at first, for sure. But I think like now I've gotten to a point where, you know, I've built a brand for myself and people kind of know what I do. So very easily people start to more ask me questions. I don't have to explain as much because, you know, I've already done that. But okay, so how do you do that?
Well, one second before we get to your brand, because I really want to go there.
Yeah.
A comment on a couple of things that you just said there that was so powerful. One is many congratulations, of course, that you won it. You got there in the end, and it didn't happen the way you expected. So a couple of things on that is, one thing that comes to my mind is that you were in full outflow, and when we're in full outflow and you were putting all that energy out, inflow will happen naturally, and it just didn't happen in the way you thought it might. So I think that's very much how the universe operates. It's like this universe is like, wow, she's really going for this, you go girl, and then it just comes in like a tidal wave in other ways. So we see that happening in a very mystical, beautiful, magical way, right?
Yeah. And interestingly, like literally what happened was I didn't get a response from somebody, and I literally said to myself, you know what, if it's not them, it's somebody else. I got a notification on my phone literally a second after I said that, of the person saying to me, hey, can I buy this from you? Can I get this water? Like, it literally happened exactly like that. And I was very okay with the fact that if it's not you, it will be somebody else. I don't know how, but it will.
And it was a certainty. It was a certainty. And another thing you touched on there was, this issue of rejection. And we know in Nikken we're like 80% women, and women have a more difficult time with rejection very often than men do. It's a known fact, even that the way that, the top soccer teams are coached, it's very different how to coach women's soccer teams, than men, because of the way they take rejection. So I think this is a super important thing to learn in life, as a life skill anyway, is that the rejection isn't about you. The rejection is simply that they're not a match for what you're offering at that time. And that sort of proverbial idea in network marketing of, if you were waiting tables and you said, would you like some dessert? And they said no, you wouldn't take it personally. You wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me that you don't want dessert?
Yeah.
You just don't want dessert. And so it's the same thing, but somehow we take it so personally, or we can. And I feel like you just really conquered an internal, thing there of becoming really not diminished by that, but actually empowered. Like, okay,
like not attached.
If it's not you, you weren't attached. And if it's not you, it's going to be someone else. You didn't let it deter you from your goal. And this is probably one of the most important teachings that, we could ever bring to consultants, is that. So I just wanted to touch on those two things before we go on to now your brand. So I know you've talked about this in other venues and so forth and other places, but tell us about you and your brand. How did you conceive of it? How did you develop it? Why did you pick Instagram as your, vehicle primarily on social media?
Yeah. So, to begin with, I'm somebody who always has liked social media. People always ask me when they start, like, do I have to use social media? And I say to them, well, Nikken has been operating for 47 years without social media. So no, you don't need to use social media. But does social media have potential that other sources, that word of mouth does not have? Yes. Social media has a lot of potential in that way. And I have used social media because I've always liked to create. I find that, I wanted to find a way to integrate Nikken in a way that resonated with me. And I was somebody who I love creating videos. I love making posts. I like it being more of that like influencery type of route sometimes. And so I found a way to integrate Nikken into what I was already doing, because that's also something that my audience already resonates with. You want to think like, how does your audience resonate with you? And then take what you're now doing and put it out in that sort of format. So I knew that my audience liked me posting things, making videos, speaking to the camera. Well, actually, in fact, I wasn't really speaking to the camera that often before I started my business. It wasn't until me, Ellen, and Sophia came together and we started something called Conscious Connections. And that was a live that we hosted every Wednesday. It wasn't necessarily about the business, but sometimes we did speak about the business. But we just used it to have conscious connections, have connections that were enlightening. And, we knew that we loved when we got together and spoke, and we knew how valuable what we were saying, the things that we were saying were. And we thought, like, I'm sure there's so many other people who want to be in on this type of conversation. And, all the times, like, we all individually in our friend groups found that people loved sharing things with us or talking to us because they always found that we had something really brightening to say to them. And so we thought, why don't we make this into a larger audience? Why don't we share this with people on a greater scale? So we started that. And what that did was it actually allowed people to get to know us better, to feel connected to us, to feel safe speaking to us. And it gave them an opportunity to tune in to who we are. And I think that was very important with me bringing on my business into my social media world, because I was able to integrate both of them. And like, as people naturally started to get to know me more, I started to build trust with my audience a lot more. And I could leverage the platforms. So it's really about sharing who you are, like sharing your story. Don't be afraid to get on video and like start speaking to people. Let them ask you questions. Like, people will be curious, and yeah, people might make fun of you, but some people won't. Some people will resonate with you, and it's always about the people that resonate with you that really matters. And you know, every time I post something and I'm like, oh, well, I wish I didn't post that, or not to wish I didn't post it, but like I'm nervous about it or something. There's always somebody that replies to me saying, oh my God, I love this. Thank you so much for posting that. So it's focusing on what you resonate with, and knowing that someone out there will resonate with that same message. And so how do you post about like the products? Well, the products have always been really natural to me. I love marketing. I feel like I have a good knack in advertising. So I've just gotten creative with it. Like I post the same thing, just in different ways. And I post myself using the products. I post testimonials of people, what they've said to me. Just a simple thing, like I went camping, and of course my sport bottle is like my life-saving grace. And I just posted myself using it and like sharing that, because, like aesthetics is really big on social media. So I'll make like an aesthetic video where I'll make the system look all pretty, and then it'll be like, there'll be nice lighting, and I'll just like put little clips together with nice music, and that just like, and then I'll share little informational things here and there and with like a little more in the caption. And that will really get people, because they'll want to watch it, they'll be curious, and then they'll have more. It's like there's a call of action towards the end, like, if you want it, do this, or if you want to know more, message me. And so that's kind of like a general overview. If you have specific questions, I can get more into it, but I kind of just, with social media, it's really just an inspired action for me. That's the biggest takeaway I have when it comes to social media is everything that I do. Like, some of my greatest videos that do the most well literally came from me like just eating breakfast or doing something, and like I just got an idea and I was like, oh, and I just started filming it. I just started putting it together. Like the second I think of something, I do it. And it's that inspired action.
I love that, because it's something that I think a lot of us struggle with, is that we have a lot of good ideas, but we maybe don't put them into action right away. So you're taking it and you're running with it immediately. Mm-hmm. So, well, I mean, I'd love you to do classes with us on like, how does that all look, for sure. I want to ask you, like, if you were to sort of give us a description of you as your brand, what would it be?
Me as my brand. I think I'm still kind of figuring that out, to be honest. I think that I've been in trial and error with my brand. And I think that I've gone through a lot of phases with my brand, because I'm somebody who loves to do many things. I do Nikken, I promote wellness, but I also love to model. I also love to be outdoors in nature. And so I'm still figuring out what my brand is. But I have in my bio, like, creating, because I think that, and that's kind of how you've described me in this time. But yeah, like when I think about it, creating and, making my vision board my reality, just going with what I'm feeling in the moment and experiencing life to the fullest. So I don't know if that answers the question.
I think it's beautiful. I mean, I think, you know, content creator is a new term that we see quite often, and I really like it. It reminds me of sort of the cultural creatives. When I came across that, I was like, oh, that sounds kind of more like the type of person who I am. So it was sort of nice. Not that I like to put anyone into a box, but I do feel that you're tremendously creative and that you are also a visionary. So your creations have a visionary content, which makes them very inspiring and appealing naturally. So you have a way of lifting people up with your inspiration and empowering them with your inspiration, which I think is two things that I think we do in Nikken a lot. Is we aim to inspire the world, and we aim to empower people to have fabulous lives themselves. You know, that it's like not just I'm having a fabulous life, but I want you to have a fabulous life. And how do we do that together? And that's building teams, right? And the more you build that, it's fabulous, because it has a kind of snowball effect to it that's thrilling, you know, where everybody's like, yeah, we can all have a great life together. And the better we work together and the more we leverage and understand the power of leverage, which I think is huge in network marketing, the more we can really have what we say we want. And it certainly takes work, and it's actually kind of helpful to me to hear that you say it's not easy on social media, because sometimes for me it does appear easy. And I know I enjoy writing blogs and things and putting them up and being in that creative thing. If I'm only posting other people's stuff, after a while it gets, you know, just like I want something that's generated from within. So I love that about what you do. Is it's so much of it, it's just unique, it's original, it's you're generating it, and then people are picking up on it and they're going, oh, I really like what she's up to, I want to follow her more. And you do have a lot of followers, and then, you know, it's like, oh, well, I want to engage more with her. And then they'll probably start asking you, well, what do you do? And one of the aspects of network marketing, and in Nikken specific, is we have these incredible technologies. We want to leverage those for sure and highlight them. The business model is brilliant. We want to highlight that. But I think we also, you know, you want to highlight yourself, like, because you're going to be their sponsor. And so you want to say, you know, you're also getting me in this package. And that is very important. I think some people are a bit shy about really promoting themselves, but I think it's terribly important, because you don't just join a community, you join a person in the community, and you want to know that somebody that, you know, you really resonate with. And
I think that's some great advice. And I think I do that kind of on the sideline, but I haven't actually really, you know, promoted myself intentionally. And I think that's even something I could do a little more, because I do know that I will put my all into somebody, into helping them. And that's true. Like, you really do get people, like, you get the community. And what's really interesting about, you know, us in the Sovereign Life team is you're getting me, but, you know, you're also getting Sophia, you're also getting Elena. And, you know, we have quite a few people now stepping into that leadership role in our team. And, you know, you also have them. I'm like, me, Ellen, and Sophia are all in different countries right now, and our team members are getting together on their own, like back in Toronto. And I love that. That's so exciting that, you know, they're collaborating, they're making things happen. And that's exactly how it should be. And it's good to see that, like, we're providing that environment for them to step up and to feel that. And you know, part of what we do is in our calls, every Monday night call that we have, our team calls, we have a 10-minute segment where we call it leadership segments. And so anybody on the team gets to have a leadership segment for 10 minutes. They're leading us, providing value. And the thing is, it doesn't actually have to be in regards to Nikken. They could do a meditation for us. They can do something to do with wellness. They could do, if they are nutritionists, tell us something about nutrition. Maybe look at our nutritionals and share with us about that. Like, it's just about providing value and getting comfortable leading yourself, because I know that when I stepped up into the leadership role, that was my biggest transformation.
You see, you're doing it naturally. You're empowering your team. They're now doing their own thing. They're showing their own autonomy, which is exactly what you want. You want to develop leaders, not followers, right? So you're doing it. This is so exciting. I feel like I could talk with you forever. I know we're coming toward the end of our time together. So a couple of things I want to ask you is, you have a degree in psychology, and I just would love to just know, how do you parlay that into building Nikken. And the other question I have for you is, why do you think Nikken is so vitally important for the future of our world right now? What do you see about the future?
Yeah. So psychology I use for absolutely everything. That, like, throughout my degree, I realized by my 4th year that I was starting to naturally use my degree in my day-to-day interactions in life. So it's not even something that I can truly like pinpoint, like, oh, I use this part of psychology. It's more just an understanding of the way our brains work and understanding what, like, the way people view things. So like if I'm viewing something one way, you might be viewing it another way. So kind of being empathetic in the way somebody else sees something, being open and curious. I think that's a big part of psychology, is not judging, but being curious about somebody else and about their way of seeing something. And, thinking, okay, well, like, how would I want to view that as well? But psychology is something I think everybody should study, because it really just teaches you life skills in terms of, how, like, it helps you understand why you're interpreting something a certain way. And especially when you're a business owner and an entrepreneur, like, you keep yourself accountable. So you should know yourself pretty well, and you should be able to be honest with yourself. And I think psychology really teaches you that. So I recommend people to, like, read books about psychology, study people. I've honestly been thinking, like, I want to take the books that I have and, like, just pile it up, because I loved what I've learned, and I think that it's something that should be taught on a larger scale. And then you asked me in terms of where I see why I think Nikken.
Just a comment on that. I think it's so brilliant that you're using it in real life versus just having a degree and then plonking it over to the side,
Yeah.
I love that. And
that's why I chose psychology.
Yes.
Like, people always asked me, like my parents, when I first chose psychology, they thought it was stupid.
It's applicable to all of life.
In the last few years, especially, psychology has become really, really valuable. And you know what, actually, now that I think of it, my degree has really helped me with marketing. I think that is where psychology really plays a role, is I know I can think about when I'm putting content out, how somebody's going to view it and what's going to get them to take action, how they're going to perceive it. So psychology really does help with that.
Absolutely. I've studied Jung's work a lot in psychology, and I just did a whole summit called Embodying Your Creative Spirit, done by the Jung platform, and it was so much fun. And I got so much out of it and loved it. It was like last weekend for like 4 days. It was super fun. So yeah, I think you're right. I think it can really help with marketing. I think marketing is marvelous, and it is called network marketing, and we market it. So it's great that you're using it, and you're using it very, very well, may I say. So my last question was just about the future. How do you see the importance of Nikken for our future?
Yeah, so that goes back to something I said earlier. I feel like there's something very big with Nikken that is involved in the future, but it's so big that you can't really see it yet. We don't actually know what it is, but it goes along with, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because there's something really big that this is needed, and I don't know what it is yet, but I can say that it does have to do with community. It really, like, what really drives me, number one, personal growth. Personal growth has been the biggest thing that I've gotten out of this business so far. And, even I just had someone, like my new sign up, right? She's like 2 weeks in, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 1 week. And she's already talking about how she feels like it's like growing her. And that's something that, like, is so undeniable in the business. And so with personal growth, with, like, just what the business model has in and of itself, it allows somebody to develop as a person, and that goes hand in hand with, being the fullest expression of yourself, and then being able to help others in doing that. If we want a better world, we need better people. And the only way to have better people is to work on yourself and then help others work on themselves. And having a community of people that are not judging you, but supporting you in that, like allowing you to show up as you are. If you don't feel great today, that's okay. But thank you for showing up. Thank you for having your energy with us. Like, it's creating that safe space. And I think Nikken has the ability to do that. And I think that the vision, the fact that Nikken has a vision, it's a 47-year-old company, but they still know that they need to improve. And I value that in Nikken. I value that they're not just like, oh, we've done our part. They're like, okay, how else can we contribute to how this society is developing? Just having, the 10 million active wellness members goal, like that's big. And Nikken has to do with changing the way that people live, the way that people express themselves. I think that it has to do with transformation. And yeah, just all of that.
It's so transformative. It's such a transformative vehicle. That's absolutely beautifully said. Savannah, thank you so much for this time together. Honestly, what a pleasure it is to be with you. I've been so excited to do this with you for ages. So thank you for taking the time, and thank you everyone for listening. I hope you really enjoyed this as much as we did. I know we both did. And make sure to connect, make sure to like, to comment, and to share this podcast with other people, because that's what it's all about. Is sharing is the name of the game. And please enjoy taking the next steps with your business, and meeting with me next week for the next episode of Inspiring Our World. Many blessings to all of you. Have a gorgeous week. Bye for now.